Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Dolores Tarver, licensed psychologist here in Georgia, coming to you with another mental health moment, this time about detecting depression. So at this point, we're feeling a little restless. We've been sheltering in place for several weeks now. We are hearing that potentially there may be some things opening up, but potentially there may not be. So we're at a point where we may be starting to realize that that schedule we had in place is not working anymore. We're going to bed later, making us get up later. We may be feeling less motivated to get things done. We may have noticed an increase in sadness, feelings of depression, maybe some guilt, just having difficulty sleeping, having difficulty even starting on task, changes in our appetite, feelings of worthlessness, hopelessness as these things are moving forward and we're still uncertain about how they're going to look for us over the next several months. Our kids may also be experiencing some patterns of depression or sadness, and theirs may look a little different, a little avoidance. Maybe they're in those electronics more often, isolating themselves, not really wanting to be bothered. They may be also tired of the routine, so possibly you're having difficulty getting them to get schoolwork done. They may be more complaining, whining about what we're eating, what we're doing, why. You may just find that they just seem a little bit more combative and irritated. You may also find that they just have increased behavior problems. Maybe they're arguing, fussing, or fighting more with their siblings. Perhaps for you, the days are starting to run together. You're realizing that you're forgetting things, that you're not as productive about how your day is going now. And you're also feeling like you're not as creative about ways to keep yourself and the kids engaged. Possibly you've gotten bored with some of the things that you've been doing. And then these financial concerns that people are still dealing with, even after getting stimulus checks. Those don't necessarily mean that those problems that we're having with our finances are gone. And so recognizing that, I want to talk to you all about some strategies that may be helpful to deal with these emerging depressive symptoms. And oftentimes for people, depression and anxiety get worse the longer that you're dealing with something like this, which can be very traumatic for people, especially as we're losing people and we're getting to a point now where most of us know someone who has died or been affected personally by COVID-19. So let's talk about changing our plan of action. So first thing is, let's reevaluate that schedule. As I talked to you all about in previous podcasts, a schedule is really important to try to have during this time, as much as possible for it to be as consistent with your regular schedule prior to COVID-19 as you can. Now, again, that doesn't have to be rigid. That doesn't mean that you need to be waking up at 6 and going to bed at 6. But there does need to be some structure in place, because that structure is going to allow you, one, to evaluate how well these strategies are working, but two, is going to set you up to be more productive and less self-critical during the day. Sit down with the kids, talk to them, reevaluate. So, hey, if we were doing your hardest subjects first, you're not really awake, you're not doing well with those first, we may need to change that up a little bit and give you an opportunity to do those later instead of starting your day with them. Are we starting our day with breakfast? Are we starting our day hydrated? Did we get enough rest the night before? Those are the things that are really important to evaluate. Are we taking the medications that we've been prescribed in the way that we've been prescribed them? Because oftentimes it is difficult for us to access medication when hours have changed to location, so we may not be able to get them. We may not have access to our providers in the same way. So we need to make some phone calls possibly to make sure that we have the medications that we need so that we can be as successful as we possibly can. Every day you want to start with something positive. You don't want to just wake up and jump right into things, rushing, oh, I'm late, I got to get on this call. The kids are late, they should have already started their homework and met with their teacher for their Zoom appointment. So you want to make sure that when you wake up, there is time to center yourself, to start your day off in a positive way instead of just feeling like you're behind. Because if you start your day off like that, it makes it difficult for you to be able to be more focused, and also you're more likely to be irritable. You want to reinforce with the kids and with yourself, the positive behaviors. So what did they do well today? What did you accomplish today? We don't want to think about, oh, you didn't do this, I didn't get this done, as the energy that we have during our day. We want to think about, hey, I was able to knock these things off the to-do list. The kids did better with these behaviors today. I only had to correct them twice as opposed to 10 times. So you really want to reinforce with them as well as yourself the positives. You definitely want to be evaluating how you're eating and sleeping during this time. Those are critical things, because if you're not getting enough rest, you may be having nightmares, you may be restless at night, you possibly napping during the day, which could be affecting the way you sleep. You may have pain that's interrupting you. The kids may be up, so they're interrupting you. You may be binge watching things at night or on your phone at night. Sleep is still just as important now as it was before you were sheltering in place. In fact, it's even more important because it's easy to either oversleep or undersleep during this time. So we want to get those sleep schedules regulated. And again, what are you putting in your body, right? So we're all doing a little bit more of eating of junk food. We're drinking a little bit more than we might usually have. We might be smoking more. And so how are these behaviors affecting possibly depression or anxiety for that matter? Are these things keeping me up? Am I doing things that are actually interfering with me being able to sleep and be productive? So I need to evaluate and go back to, I need to be eating healthy things. I need to be exercising. I need to stay hydrated. Oftentimes we're dehydrated during the day, which also affects our productivity and can affect our bodies as well. If you are having a hard time just getting a task done, consider using a command card. Just simply take an index card or whatever you have available to you. You don't have to go out and buy anything. You can cut up construction paper, whatever, and just write one thing down on those cards. So instead of you thinking about, oh, I have to clean the whole bathroom, on that card, write, clean the sink, clean the toilet. Scrub out the tub. And so it's just one thing that I'm doing as opposed to being overwhelmed by the whole idea of the house is a mess. Because that's another thing that people are struggling with right now. Like, I'm home more. Why is my house messy? Because we're all there. We don't leave during the day, so things are getting used. So one, I want you to be kind to yourself and recognize that your house is not going to be immaculate when everybody is home during the day utilizing the spaces. But we can also have some structure in place where we are keeping things clean and as tidy as we possibly can, understanding that with little kids, that can be definitely more challenging. And with teenagers, they may be less motivated to clean. Why bother? We're not going anywhere. We're going to be here doing the same thing every day anyway, right? So if we set up a schedule where everybody gets a command card, so each kid, each adult gets one thing they're responsible for, then that feels like less overwhelming to people, and it may be easier for you to manage. Make sure that you're putting accountability things in place. And a way to do that is to either have a person that helps kind of motivate you or set up some reward centers. Like, everybody likes rewards, children and adults too. So what are some things we can put in the reward center? And this is another way to engage the kids. You all may get to choose the movie or the activity that we do, or some of that stuff that you got for Christmas that you never use and it's in the closet somewhere. We can break those things out for fun crafts to do during this time. So we're getting into doing something different than what we've gotten in the habit of doing, which is our video games, YouTube, and social media becomes the things that we're doing every day. Let's add some other things in there. Let's play some games. Let's do some puzzles. Let's do some sand art. Let's make some necklaces. So, I mean, how can we mix it up? The kids may be able to offer other solutions because they may be getting ideas as well that you can use. And when we have those rewards, we want them to be revitalizing rewards, things that are going to nurture us in some area of wellness, intellectual, environmental, physical, social, as opposed to being things that are numbing or avoidant. So I know a lot of us like to use that adult beverage as our reward, or binge watching that show as our reward. But then this is also going to cause me possibly to overdo it, and then I'm going to be critical of myself about it later. So let me think about, possibly could I go for that run or that walk or do an activity with the kids as a reward as opposed to doing utilizing a substance. Another thing that we want to really think about is, again, these affirmations. And I gave you an example of some affirmations in one of the previous podcasts, because this is a time where those self-critical thoughts are going to come back in play. You're beating yourself up, you're worried, you're scared. And so it's really important that you remind yourself of your worth and your value, and that you're doing the very best you can. But you also want to be able to visualize yourself coming through this, see these things working effectively, and us getting back to some of the things that we were doing before, seeing yourself yourself as healthy, seeing your family as healthy. You need to have a visual picture of that during this time. You can also, if you're struggling financially, look, and this is an opportunity to go to websites to look, but go to websites where you have financial planners and bankers who can offer you sound advice about how to manage your resources during this time, including that stimulus check, that you don't end up, because we can be so happy to get some money coming in that we just go ahead and spend it and not prepare for the months ahead. So you want to make sure that you're talking to people who are financially wise so that you can make the best decision about that money. Also, again, remember, this is a time where you may be lonely and looking for filler relationships, but take this time and do meaningful things instead, purposeful activity, or work on these friendships that are reciprocal and people that can actually give you something back as opposed to just being able to take up a space for you. Okay, so again, be kind to yourself. Remember that there are some changes on the horizon, but we still need to be patient. We still need to be safe, and we still need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves in the best way we possibly can. Okay, be encouraged.